Time Warner Cable is pleased to be an underwriting sponsor for Carolina Week.
Coming up on this special edition of Carolina Week,
a look back at the stories that affected our campus
and define the fall semester at UNC.
Carolina Week starts right now.
From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Hello and welcome to the Best Of edition of Carolina Week. I'm Katie Klein.
And I'm Jessica Floyd. We have a look back at some of the most important stories of the fall semester. Thanks for watching. Safety has been a big concern for students ever since a former student drove an SUV through the pit last spring. This semester, I followed the process of keeping the sidewalk barriers in place and finally discovered who's responsible for putting them back in place. We started our video diary 2 weeks ago and spot-checked this set of bollards between Wilson and the undergraduate libraries nearly 36 times. Only twice were all of the bollards up. This spot is only 200 yards from the pit, and that makes some students nervous.
I wish they would put them up and be more cautious of the people that were there because we are nervous.
When barriers are down, there's more than enough room for vehicles to get through. Take a look at this large construction vehicle and how easily it can get onto campus. Now, some bollards, like these near Lenore, are up the way they should be, but some places on campus don't have any bollards at all, leaving the area completely open for a vehicle to get through. There's been some confusion about who's supposed to put the bollards back up. DPS spokesman Randy Young.
We just don't talk about operations per se. That I wouldn't know, I'm sorry. I don't know.
Jim Alty is the director of grounds for UNC.
What's certainly come to light with the pit incident is that people are more sensitive to making sure the bollards stay up at all times.
Right after the pit incident, I did notice them down probably a day or two after they were down. And then every time I walk by, I do look at them, and most of the time they are down.
Alty says the bollards have been down frequently because of construction work in the pit area. But he says campus safety comes first, and it's his department that's responsible for putting the bollards back in place.
Keeping the bollards up is very important for us as a department to protect the security of the students and the staff and the faculty that use the area. We welcome anybody contacting us to let us know if they see them down so that we can get them up as promptly as possible.
We're happy to say that the bollards have been consistently up since we first reported this story and now have stickers with the phone number so students can call if they see one of them down.
Another safety concern for students this semester was the visibility of police force on campus. I talked to students to see if they think there were enough officers on campus in key places at key times.
For many students, campus is a haven as they relax between classes in places like the pit.
I feel safe enough.
Well, I feel like campus itself is pretty safe.
Yet events like a former student driving an SUV into the center of campus last spring rattled that sense of security.
Sir, I just hit several people with the vehicle.
Less than 3 weeks ago, a UNC senior made headlines when he ran through the pit assaulting students before he was taken to UNC hospitals. It made freshman Megan Anderson wish there were more police on hand.
He attacked so many people before the police even got here and did anything about it, and I think that's really wrong.
Department of Public Safety spokesman Randy Young says there are at least 8 officers patrolling the campus at a given time.
Certainly the pit has a high level of activity, as would, say, 65,000 people in a football stadium.
The campus is divided into 4 areas. Officers consistently patrol the same place, so students are more likely to recognize them.
The officer is going to be more familiar with that area of campus, what the trends are, what the threats are, and what to be on the watch out for.
Larceny is by far the most prevalent crime on campus, with more than 400 reported last year alone. Some students still feel increased police presence would help.
I mean, I'm not saying we should live in like a military state where every 10 feet, but I mean, it's just nice to know that they're here.
One step DPS has taken to up visibility is to add officers on bicycles and an office in Rams Head.
We're not ubiquitous. The police call boxes aren't everywhere. We certainly are dependent upon members of the campus community.
And the campus community, in turn, is dependent on campus police.
They don't have to be like super visible, but I would like to know that they're there. I mean, because just their general presence makes you feel safer.
Randy Young says DPS hopes with new bike officers and a station in Rams Head, students will feel a better police presence on campus. Well, you see them on the streets, but how much do you really know about Chapel Hill panhandlers? Reporter Alex Villarreal took a closer look at the men behind the money boxes and uncovered information you need to know.
Donald Brothers doesn't come to Franklin Street for fun. He comes here to hustle for money. Brothers has panhandled on Chapel Hill streets for the past 8 years.
Trying to get some change. Can you help me out? I got to do something in order to survive. I had to stop stealing and robbing folks and stuff.
Brothers says he's been in and out of jail for the past 3 decades. He doesn't think fondly of the police.
They suck. I hate them. Every police here in Chapel Hill knows me.
Maybe that's because they've arrested him 50 times in the past 5 years. Take a look at his record. 3 arrests for assault, including an incident in July 2001, assault on a handicapped person. 3 arrests for breaking and entering, 9 for possession of drug paraphernalia, and in February of this year, an arrest for cocaine possession. He's even been convicted of identity theft, which is a felony. Brothers isn't alone. Many panhandlers, now permanent fixtures on downtown sidewalks, are former convicts with lengthy arrest records. Chapel Hill police officer Tom Mitchell says most of them aren't using your money for food.
I've got certain ones downtown that if I don't see them on the street, I can go down to the West End where they're selling crack out on the street, and that's where they are.
Panhandlers do make money here in Chapel Hill. They've said anywhere from $20 to $200 a day, and they'll stay as long as people keep giving. I decided to come to Franklin Street to see if people really know who's watching them as they withdraw from the ATM. Some students worry about their safety. We have one of the records right here. This is for one of the guys across from Franklin, across the street right there. 50 arrests in the past 5 years. Now, how does that make you feel about your safety?
Not so safe. It's actually kind of scary because my friends and I walk around here at night and they're all over the place.
I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but when they have a record like that, you start to wonder, am I really safe?
Others say seeing the records won't stop them from giving.
I guess there are bad apples out there, but that's just the life that they have right now.
The Chapel Hill Downtown Partnership has begun an educational campaign to teach the community a better way to give.
We encourage you to give to the services and the agencies that can actually provide help for individuals that are on the streets rather than giving a panhandler $1 for a hamburger. There's food available. That's not why they're panhandling.
Brothers says he panhandles because he can't get a real job. He says no one will hire him because of his criminal record, but local citizens have been helping him out for years.
Chapel Hill, it's got good people here, yeah, and they're willing to give up money.
Maybe next time before they give their money, Chapel Hill residents should do a background check. In Chapel Hill, I'm Alex Villarreal, Carolina Week.
Officer Mitchell says he's seen an increase in the number of Franklin Street panhandlers in the recent years. He says the town's lenient panhandling ordinance is the reason why.
It's important to read the paper every day, but in the small town of Dunn, North Carolina, many people buy more than one copy. Susan Tart has the success story of the Daily Record.
Dunn might not look like a happening place, but the local paper tells a different story. It's full of news, and for some people, the Daily Record contains the only news that matters.
It's the only paper that we have that has all the latest news just here for the local area.
The Daily Record has been in print for nearly 56 years. Talk to Bart Adams, the editor and publisher, and he'll tell you the paper's policy that keeps it in business.
What we strive to do every day is to cover our local communities in a way that other news organizations can and won't do.
Many newspapers are losing their readers to the internet, but the Daily Record has a readership rate of more than 100%. One reason is because the paper is released at noon.
A hot meal isn't the only thing people are after at lunchtime. Many people also read the Daily Record, hot off the press.
People who subscribe to the paper and get it at home might pick up a copy at lunch. and also people who live outside the city zone, they might come into town and pick up a single copy.
Why do people buy a few copies? Hoover Adams, Bart's father and founder of the paper, writes a column called These Little Things. He knows what people want to read.
You want to know who had a baby, who died, what the church is doing, what the city hall is doing, and people are hungry for news.
And hungry they are. Dunn native and UNC Chapel Hill student Annetta Grindstaff saves clippings about her friends.
They print everything about everybody, whether it's school accomplishments or someone who's going to jail. Anything you could possibly want to know is in the paper.
Actually, getting down to it, little things, pretty much like a gossip column.
But Bart will be the first to tell you that printing news about people for a small town can get a bit messy.
Sometimes people think, oh, we kind of thrive on, controversy. And believe me, there are plenty of days where I wish this story didn't happen or that story didn't happen.
But for a town of only 9,000, a tell-all local newspaper is important.
I read this paper because I want to see who's been naughty and who's been nice. I mean, I want to see what's going on in my town.
Maybe that's the formula for saving the vanishing newspaper and keeping it on the stands in the U.S. In Dunn, I'm Susan Tart, Carolina Week.
Renowned journalist Charles Kuralt called this approach being relentlessly local. The Daily Record is more than just a newspaper for Dunn residents. It's a community institution.
Well, you know, Jess, one of the great things about Chapel Hill is how close we are to the beach.
Coming up after the break, we'll take you on a little-known treasure on the North Carolina coast.
If you're not recycling, you're throwing it all away.
Thousands of kids in this country have everything it takes to go to college, except the money. The United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
It's great that the Salvation Army does so much for the needy during the holiday season.
But you know that isn't all the Salvation Army does. They also run Boys and Girls Clubs.
They also provide relief for those who need it after natural disasters.
And they help the homeless by providing temporary relief and shelter.
They even run summer camps for low-income children.
Need has no season. Please help the Salvation Army help others.
Not that long ago, tobacco was the key crop for North Carolina. Now, many of the farms have shifted from tobacco to grapes, and business is booming.
Caitlin Kleinert went to Chatham Hill Winery to find out just how big the impact is.
Chatham Hill is one of those wineries, located in the heart of the Triangle. On an early Saturday morning, owner Marek Wojciechowski has a full day ahead. He's just received a shipment of grapes, and it's time for the crush, the beginning of a long journey to the bottle. Chatham Hill's revenue is 30% higher this year than last year. Wojciechowski thinks it's only going to get better.
Supporting North Carolina wine industry will only be beneficial to the North Carolina economy.
The Grape Council estimates that winemaking has become an almost $80 million industry in North Carolina. The industry has created almost 1,000 jobs, and the industry keeps growing. The next step is to start selling the wines outside the state. Owner of Chapel Hill Wine Company, Todd Wheeler.
The only way that the North Carolina wines are ever going to sell outside of the state of North Carolina is if they are price competitive. And so that's the name of the game.
But it's a young industry, so higher prices are expected. Wojciechowski says if prices seem to be high, that's because he's not mass producing his wine. He says the wine community's goal at the moment is to make sure North Carolina keeps producing quality wine to fuel the economy. Well, he might have another goal.
We hope that this growth will continue until North Carolina will become either another California, or if not California, maybe a small Napa. We will settle for that.
And that wouldn't be too shabby for our economy. In Napa Valley, the smallest county in California, winemaking is a $9.5 billion industry. So next time you're looking for something fun to do, come visit a winery and see how this bundle of grapes helps fuel our state economy. At Chatham Hill Winery, I'm Caitlin Kleinard, Carolina Week.
North Carolina ranks 12th for wine production and 10th for grape production in the U.S.
Well, maybe you like a glass of wine while sitting on the beach. Even though it's getting cold out, the beach is still an inviting getaway. Reporter Will Weldon takes us on a hidden paradise on the North Carolina coast.
Hammock's Beach State Park, one of North Carolina's hidden treasures. Located in Swansboro, just beyond the Camp Lejeune Marine Base, the park consists mostly of a 3-mile-long barrier island called Bear Island. Unlike most of the Carolina coastline, this stretch of beach is completely undeveloped. North Carolina beaches can get pretty crowded over the summer, but there remain a few barrier islands like Bear Island, where there are miles of open, pristine beach.
North Carolina is very, very fortunate in that a lot of our barrier islands are protected by either state or federal agencies, so that we'll be able to have this type of ecosystem protected for people to come to these places and see what these areas are like.
Bear Island is a federally protected nesting area for sea turtles, so if you come in the late summer months, you could see lots of little turtles making their first trip to the ocean. But people who've been coming to Bear Island for years and years have other reasons why the park is top on their list of beaches.
Why, number one? It's unspoiled. You don't see tall buildings behind you.
Access to the island is by boat only. The State Park Service operates a ferry during the warm months, and visitors are welcome to take their own boats year-round. So the next time you're asked for one of the best-kept secrets in North Carolina, you now have an answer. Hammock's Beach State Park. In Swansboro, I'm Will Weldon, Carolina Week.
The park also has a museum and visitor center. For more information, you can visit carolinaweek.org.
Seesaw Studios in Durham uses art to teach life lessons and shows kids they can be anything they want to be. Reporter Janelle Henry went to Seesaw Studios to see how these kids interact with one another and use art to tell their stories.
A professional artist,
a musician,
screen printing, fashion design.
Yeah. Welcome to Seesaw Studios, where the possibilities are endless and the dreams are as fresh as the paint. This studio allows students to make their artistic visions a reality. Just check out what these kids have to offer. Posters, pillows, their own t-shirt designs. There's just no telling where their creativity draws the line. For these students, art comes in many forms.
We learn about the artist struggle, early. So.
Many of the students come from low-income families, so Seesaw Studio provides a safe and affordable place for them to express themselves. But Executive Director Pat Hoffman says the studio is more than just a creative outlet for them.
Learning skills to develop careers and handle themselves professionally in the real world, so that they have more preparation than they ever would have got just going to school.
Student Julia Sue can already see positive changes in herself.
I'm very self-conscious about letting my voice be heard. And Seesaw is helping me sort of come out of that little shell and stop being as shy as I am.
And she's not alone. The students aren't keeping their feelings about the program bottled up. So what does Seesaw give them?
Confidence.
It's a safe environment.
It's just fun. I like the people and everything we work on.
I can express myself.
Well, it seems that the writing, or rather the drawing, is on the wall. In Chapel Hill, I'm Janelle Henry, Carolina Week.
You can see banners the students have made at the West Village in Durham. And if you want to take classes yourself, visit our website at carolinaweek.org.
Well, sportscaster Brandon Curry is here.
Brandon, what's going on in sports?
Well, we're wrapping up a great fall semester. Coming up in sports, the joy and excitement of basketball season is like Christmas morning every day. We'll have a look back at UNC's basketball Christmas Eve late night with Roy.
Don't walk. Don't walk. Walk. Do not enter. Hot dogs. Definitely like hot dogs. Motorcycle club. Everything must go. Ghostly ghouls. Don't look at that, Teddy. Body piercing. Ouch.
Everyday moments can become teaching moments because learning starts long before school does. Give your child the start they need at bornlearning.org.
It's been a great semester for sports, topped off by a national championship in women's soccer and the opening of basketball season. Brian Allen looks back at the late-night madness that kicks off Carolina hoops.
There were the outrageous skits, the Duke bashing.
If Carolina plays at Duke on Duke senior night, what is the probability that the home team Duke will come out on top?
And of course, a little bit of Roy dancing. But there were also a few lessons to be learned from Friday's Late Night with Roy. Lesson 1. The women's team may have been the best team on the court. Led by Ivory Latta, the team figures to be one of the fastest in the country, with Rashonda McCants developing into a legitimate threat. Lesson 2. Brandon Wright may be the most awkward dancer on the team. Wow. Speaking of awkward dancing, Lesson 3. Tyler Hansborough is better and stronger than he was last year. He is a legitimate candidate for National Player of the Year and will be the Heel's main scoring threat from day one. Lesson 4. Taiwan Lawson is for real. He looks like the best Carolina point guard since, well, Raymond Felton. Lesson 5. With Divine Noel taking her act to the pros, Martha Vineyard proves she's a future star. Let's just hope she stays in the club while Marcus Ginyard shows up to play on game day. Finally, Lesson 6. Rayshawn Terry and Wes Miller have a tough job in leading a team that is comprised almost entirely of freshmen and sophomores. But after Friday's Late Night with Roy, it already looks like the team is starting to gel. If the Heels can learn from these early lessons, the 2006-2007 season might be one to remember. From Chapel Hill, I'm Brian Allen, Carolina Week Sports.
The basketball team likes to put opponents on ice early. Jennifer Carpenter introduces us to a Carolina team that likes giving the other team the cold shoulder.
Carolina Classic, a new ACC tradition. 4 college hockey teams compete in a 3-day round-robin tournament. The main contenders, Appalachian State and UNC Chapel Hill. It's the beginning of the season, and UNC hockey is ready to play.
One, two, three, Heels! Every one of us that's in here play their best in order for us to come out with a win tonight.
Coach Dave Kurtz keeps all 22 players in line. The Carolina Classic is UNC's chance to get the season started right. And so the game begins.
Got the ref that we had tonight was the ref last night in a 3-hour, 51 penalty called game. So keep your mouth shut. We stay out of the box. We're going to be on the power play a lot.
Even with more than 40 called penalties, UNC and Appalachian played a seriously violent game. They may wear a lot of padding, but a hard check to the glass or trip on the ice has got to hurt. Even though Appalachian State had plenty of shots on goal, Carolina came out on top. With the crowd on their side, the Heels would win the game 4-3. But every game, win or loss, ends like it started.
All right, boys. All right, boys. Let's bring it in. Heels on 3, guys. 1, 2, 3, Heels!
From the Factory Ice House, I'm Jennifer Carpenter, Carolina Week.
Another fall semester of sports, another fall semester of just highlights from playmakers here at Carolina.
And Brandon, it looks like it was certainly a great semester for our sports
Glorious.
teams.
National championship in women's soccer. We're back on top again. Where
Exciting.
Carolina belongs.
Thanks, Brandon. There's an adventure at UNC's Forest Theater that can take you around the world.
And it's definitely a colorful ride. We'll tell you what everyone is crowing about coming up.
If you have a story idea, contact Carolina Week at 843-8292. You can also visit us online at carolinaweek.org. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNCCH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27599.
Well, you don't see many puppet shows with real-life themes, but We have one right here on campus.
Reporter Justin Smith takes us behind the scenes of a paper hand puppet intervention show with a unique message.
Audience members are wide-eyed as a giant Buddha, big black birds, and a wizard take the stage. But what goes on behind the scenes might be just as exciting as the production itself. The audience doesn't see the people behind the puppets, people like Jan Berger and Donovan Zimmerman.
From sculpting them, paper macheing them, and painting them and sewing and everything afterwards, it's a kind of a labor-intensive project.
All the puppets are created in a studio in Saxapahaw and then repaired on a nightly basis here at the Forest Theater. They're made to get the attention of the audience members, but not just to entertain. Sometimes the goal is to make a statement.
I need my art to have sort of a meaning for it in order for me to really want to do it. So a lot of time that means tackling social issues that really engage me.
In this show, performers tackle stories from around the world they hope will resonate with audiences here.
Puppetry speaks universally because it allows us to transport into a sort of another world.
Some of the stories are folk tales passed down through generations in other cultures. There's also a recent true story from the war in Iraq. A war zone is created on stage using just flashing lights, a screen, and subtle movements of cardboard cutouts.
I could just take this piece of wood, and start to animate it and give it a little character and make it look surprised or angry, just by the way that I move it.
As the artists move the puppets on stage, they ultimately hope to move the audience members as well, taking them on a journey that starts at the Forest Theater and ends up around the world. In Chapel Hill, I'm Justin Smith, Carolina Week.
Well, from puppets to pumpkins, both are fun for all you kids at heart.
And you don't have to go far to find that fun. Reporter Julia Meyer takes us to a farm that fulfills every kid's fantasy.
Welcome to Ganyard Hill Farms. Located off Sharon Road in Durham, this 115-acre ranch presents kids and adults with a fun farm experience. Owner Milton Ganyard began the farm 12 years ago with hopes of providing students and families with an interactive way to learn about an important local industry.
Then we have a cotton field, because a lot of people have never had the opportunity to see a cotton field, and we let people go out and pick cotton in the cotton field and take it home.
The farm is dotted with signs that provide fun facts about local crops such as corn and cotton. Visitors like Alyssa Clough agree that a trip to the farm is a wonderful way to spend a crisp fall day.
Oh, it was just a great fall day and wanted Andrew to come and experience the farm, see the animals, and pick some pumpkins.
After scaling Hay Mountain and winding your way through the illustrious hay maze, be sure to take an authentic hay ride. Visitors can sit among bales of hay as they're pulled through the farm by a 1967 John Deere diesel tractor. Of course, don't forget to check out Farmer Ganyard's pumpkin patch. Every July, Farmer Ganyard begins his pumpkin crop by planting hundreds of tiny seeds which grow into a harvest like this. Ganyard Hill Farms will be open to the public through November 15th, so be sure to stop by and say hey. In Durham, I'm Julia Meyer, Carolina Week.
Well, that definitely looks like a lot of fun for the kids.
It does. I mean, clearly they just had a lot of fun with all the hay and all the pumpkins. We might have to check that out.
Definitely, definitely. Well, that does it for this special edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for watching. Good night.